Om Ariva Ratanabao Samhata Yatra Nadyaha Sa Ishon Chastarate Buhuda Jaya Manaha Om Ityevam Jayatha Atmanam Svasti Vaha Parayatamasaha Parastat Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. There within, at the center, in the heart, where all the unseen subtle nerve endings meet, like the spokes of a chariot wheel at the hub, abides the Atman, eternally stable but becoming manifold. Meditate upon that great self as Om. And Godspeed to you in crossing over to the farther shore beyond all darkness. For there shines Brahman. May that Brahman protect us. May that Brahman sustain us. And may that Brahman illumine our thinking consciousness. May we not find fault with each other, with the world, or with these teachings. And may what we study be a source of inspiration to us eternally. Om, peace, peace, peace. May peace be unto us. May peace be unto all. Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Tat Sat. This is the mudra of welcome in India, so we welcome you all to this third and final class on the Advaya Taraka Upanishad. We found out from the last two classes on the last two Sundays that Advaya is much like the word Advaita, means basically not two or ever one. Advaita, that is, Advaya gives it a little bit different twist. It is not of two bodies. So we understand then that the real body that we have is this Atman that I just talked about from the Svetasvatara Upanishad, which I began chanting about, that it's there in the heart. And I was just talking to one of the students before we started the class just now about when I was his age, around in my 30s, and I had discovered the Vedanta when I was 21. I began to deliberate about the heart and the third eye, because those were the two very important centers of consciousness. They're not in the body. A lot of teachers fail or forget to teach that. They're in the subtle body or in the mind. A body is a part of this outer appearance, that is, nature, five senses. And but when you get into the subtle body inside, you find things like mind, ego, intelligence, and your thoughts. Those comprise the fourfold antakarna, they call it in Vedanta, the subtle body or the inner cause of everything. So the mind is the inner cause of everything out here. And we know that it takes manifestation in terms of sets of fives. So if you come out from the mind, you'll find it's doing it by five subtle senses and then five gross senses, five subtle elements that you see in dream tonight, and then five gross elements that you see all around you here, namely air, earth, fire, water, and ether. So above both of those outer and inner worlds is this Atman, which we just chanted about. That's the word for the soul in Vedanta, but not soul as you usually find it in Judeo-Christian way of describing it. It's the soul that has no birth and has no death. Therefore, Shankara sings about it in the Nirvana Shatkam when he says, Na mrityor na shanka, na me jati beda, pita naiva me naiva, mata majanma. Basically, he says, you ask me about death. I have none because I was never born. And I have no father, no mother. I have no grandmother or great-grandmother either. Those were all bodies that came and go, and they came and went out of me. You see? So that's why you still feel your ancestors back inside you when they lose their physical form. They have taken these hundreds and thousands of nadis that connect to the heart, which I just chanted about, and their consciousness travels along them after they drop the physical body. Now, all of us do this, not just at the time of death, but when we go to sleep tonight. Our outer senses shut down, we forget our body, and deep sleep, our ego, that is who I think I am, Jim, Bob, Joe, Susan, Sally, Spot, Puff, all of them go away. And we realize that we're not the body, or we realize then that maybe we have a subtle body. So they call that body Sukshma Sharira. Subtle body is the kingdoms of heaven within, as Jesus talked about it. In India, that's called the subtle body. And that's where all the inner chambers of my Father's mansion lie. You see, my Father's mansion has many chambers, he said. And so some of them are for sojourn, some of them are for rest. He goes on speaking in the Bible like this. So we realize that when we make these beautiful connections and correlations between the religions, like Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa Dev did, peace and blessings always be upon him, then we're in this realm we call Vedanta. And then we look at the great harbinger of Vedanta in this day and age, Swami Vivekananda, who's one of our ideals here at SRV. He's the V in our SRV title. So we look at him and we find out that he brought to us the Vedanta. Vedanta, if you divide it into two words, is Veda, Anta. Vedas are the sacred scriptures of India. There are four of those. And then out of them came the 108 Upanishads. That's Anta. That's the end of the Vedas, are these great Upanishads. So we're studying one of them this week, and we were studying one of those last month. Remember the Atma Upanishad we studied? Before that, we were talking about the Vajrasuchika Upanishad, the Diamond Needle Upanishad. Beautiful names, beautiful descriptions, beautiful teachings, all contained in these very hidden scriptures. As I was just talking again before the class started, Shankara came and was only able in his 32-year-old life, which is about 700 AD, to comment on 10 of them, roughly. And so what happened to these other 78 Upanishads that are still in existence? Well, we have the great privilege and blessing to be looking at them, one of them today, the Advaya Taraka Upanishad. So Advaya, not of two, just doesn't accept two. It doesn't accept boundaries. It doesn't accept divisions. It doesn't accept modifications. It doesn't accept superimpositions. It doesn't accept appearances. It's only one Brahman, and it's homogeneous, without barriers. And that's you, they say, finally. That's the beautiful thing about Vedanta. It brings it all back to thou art that. That's a great saying in India. Tattvamasi, you might have heard. Thou art that. Same thing Jesus said thousands of years later, after the Upanishadic era. Basically, I and my Father are one. So that oneness can never be rendered into two or many. When it is, it's an appearance. That's about as clear as I can make it. So we don't live by appearances because we don't build our house on sand. We want the bedrock. When we build our house on the bedrock, then we're building it on these truths of Vedanta and these Upanishads like the Advaya Taraka Upanishad. It can't be inferred any more directly than to use the word Taraka after it. That's actually a name for Shiva, Tarak. But also Taraka means to cross over something. In this case, I want to cross over the appearance of things to the actuality of it, Advaya. I want to go beyond the appearances of two things, two bodies, many bodies. Two could also mean the apparent soul and nature. Purusha and Prakriti, they call it in the Samkhya period. I want to cross over the idea of that. It can still be. It doesn't mean that I have to renounce it and destroy it, because just as nothing's ever created, nothing's ever destroyed. So I'd be wasting my time to try and destroy it. So I want to cross over it. I want to come to a place where I can witness it from a detached position. Then I'll be at peace. Then I'll have bliss. And then I'll have higher knowledge. And then I'll have truth. Truth of the non-dual kind. So this lesser soul is called ego. And in Buddhism, that's called the anatman. But the greater soul, what Buddha called the Buddha nature, or the greater self, is called Atman in Vedanta. So we meditate upon that with Upanishads like Atma Upanishad. And we also are looking at it pretty much directly when we take up this chart here. And I will get my copy of it out because I want to do with you a quick review of it. So that we're caught up for this third and final class. We saw that crossing over this suffering-filled, ignorance-prone sea of the world is an English translation for the word Taraka. And we saw that the Advaya Taraka Upanishad, unfortunately, we don't know the name of the rishi who composed it, because these Upanishads are so ancient, and the rishis weren't very likely to put their name on things. They were very egoless. So they didn't say, this is my Upanishad, for instance. They say, this belongs to the Lord. The mother has revealed it to me, and now I'm transmitting it to you as I heard it in the tradition. This is very common for the egoless overview of India and her philosophies. Philosophies mean Vedanta, Yoga, Tantra, Samkhya, so forth. So many great things in India. So we were just talking before the class started. Wow, there's so much of this. We've hit the mother lode. You see. This is the gold of spiritual life we just found. It's a vein of truth that's running through everything. So we feel very encouraged and very gratified, very grateful to be able to receive these teachings from our gurus. So there you see just a quick look at this chart, and then we can actually conclude it in this class. We found out that in the early scriptures, the early slokas of the scripture, it right away talked about the three great aims. First, you have to locate and focus intensely upon the Sushumna Nadi. That's here, top of the head. See it? Forehead, and then the crown of the head is called the Sahasrara, and down at the very base of the spine is called the Muladhara, and in the whole channel that's running up is called the Sushumna. So it's the main nadi that all beings travel along, from birth to life to death to rebirth and back to birth again. See, it's symbolized by the spine, the human spine, but that's not actually what they're saying. This whole conglomerate or staircase, you might call it, of subtle worlds are within you. The kingdoms of heaven are within you. So in India, that means Muladhara, Svadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddha, Agya, and Sahasrara. That's basically the base of the spine, the generative organs, the navel, the heart, the throat, the third eye, and the crown of the head. These are all symbols for higher consciousness, or as the case may be, rebirth in bodies. Down at the lower three worlds, they call these the three worlds, Bur, Bhuva, Swaha. And there's where you'll find beings are moving around in what Buddha called samsara, a cycle of birth and death, without knowing anything about what's beyond those three worlds. They don't know what's beyond their ancestors. Their ancestors have gone to heaven, which is basically the third chakra, and then they return to rebirth to satisfy more desires. For what? For wealth, for progeny, for power. And these are all things that are part of the appearance of Maya. So when a soul gets done with that kind of transmigration, this chakra will open, the heart chakra will open. And that's what Taraka means in the Upanishad. It means basically you've had an opening to the heart. That's why I just chanted from the Svetashvatara Upanishad. 100,000 nadis meet there, hundreds and thousands of nadis. If you were to see how many nerves are in the human physical body, they're countless. Now you have to take that same idea and put it into your subtle body. There are also subtle nerves and nerve endings, because one of the things we're going to get to is where all nadis end. You see, so that's going to be one of the teachings of the Advaya Taraka Upanishad. What does the yogi see? What does he want? He wants to see the end of the path. He wants to reach the goal. The path is not the goal, but the path is necessary. And to walk a path, you need a method. So method and path are not the goal, but the goal is, that's what leads to the goal. That's why Buddha said, gatam, gatam, paragatam. All these goals, gatam, are okay, but they all should lead to the paragatam, the supreme goal. And that's nirvana to him. In Vedanta, it would be called nirvikalpa. In yoga, it would be called a sampragata. In Zen Buddhism, it would be called satori. And I suppose in Christianity, we could call it beatific vision, if we want. We could look for a word in it. In Muslim religion, Sufism particularly, and fana, it's this extreme state of inwardness where everything begins to dissolve. The word gets dissolved into the mind gets dissolved into the intellect gets dissolved into that small self, ego. That small self gets dissolved into the witness of everything. Oh, I've finally attained the witness. If I have a will to live a spiritual life, it's going to end up in witness consciousness. But the witness is still aware of this and that, still aware of I am witnessing something outside myself. So it makes this final turn and it sees that everything that's outside is also inside me. This is how this Upanishad starts. Shall we read it or shall we chant it? Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. The first words that this rishi uses to introduce his subject of how to cross over the ignorance-filled ocean of suffering and get to the supreme goal means Purnamadaha. You have to realize that everything outside is full, but it's finite. Everything inside is full, but it's infinite. From the infinite, the finite has come. But if it's all infinite, then doesn't infinite remain at the end? All I see here is Brahman. All I see here is consciousness. Sometimes it has a form, sometimes it doesn't. Where's the rub? Where's the problem? The problem is if I attach to the form and the form dies, and then I get suffering. And that suffering causes me to think I'm a body, and that's called ignorance. And then you have to come back again to relearn this lesson. Sri Ramakrishna said in the gospel I was reading yesterday that until a man realizes God, you have to come back again to the physical world, again and again. So the whole purpose of coming here into the body is to realize God. To realize God in India is to realize that God is in you. I and my Father are one. If you want to go beyond that, it's that there is no you and I anymore. All is Brahman. See, that's called Advaita Vedanta, non-duality. So Purnamadaha Purnamidam is how we start this out. Now, this is just a review. We're saying he wants us first to envision all of this inside of yourself. So if you can sit for 45 minutes or an hour and you think about these 6 centers inside of you, that's what he wants you to do. He says in this Upanishad itself, in the middle of the body, there exists the Sushumna Nadi. That's a channel. Think of it about it's like a freeway. You see, you go to the main line, you see the freeway. It might be named different things at different parts of the country, but it's all leading to cities. So all these are all cities, and this freeway contains them all, only inside of yourself, not outside. It's the inner worlds you're talking about here. So these nadis that come off of this are all connecting to these great cities of consciousness. And this is where souls drive their cars along this freeway. Their cars are called subtle bodies or souls. Those are vehicles. They're called vahana in Sanskrit. All the gods have a vehicle, right? Shiva rides the bull, Nandi, and Saraswati rides the swan, and on and on. So that you have a vehicle. So your soul is kind of your vehicle that steers you across the ocean of birth and death to the heart chakra, where you're free again. See? And beyond that is the third eye chakra that we were talking about here, the forehead, the middle of the forehead. So how does the Upanishad introduce that? 2 words it gives us that maybe we're not quite used to. So the Dharana and the Sambhavi Mudra, right? Dharana is here in the heart. That's where all these subtle nerve endings meet. That's where all the cities are. You see, everything that's out here is in here. And so you see this in deep vision. You might see this in deep sleep. You might see this in a concentrated mind. You see this in samadhi. So this beatific vision that happens to you. So it says, this sushumna is as bright as the sun and as cool as the moon. It starts at the Muladhara and goes up to the Brahmarandra, which is the top middle of the skull. It is well known that in the middle there exists Kundalini. That's a very special word. Kundalini is Divine Mother. See, she's the great goddess. So she's this divine energy that is not awake in most people yet. So we do spiritual exercises like breathing, sitting in meditation, studying the scriptures so that we awaken her. When she awakens in you, whether you know it or not, or whether you've met her face to face or not, that's the awakening of spiritual consciousness. And that gives you the deep interest in these teachings. And you become galvanized. You become deeply focused upon these inner worlds. But what Vedanta provides you with is the idea that just as you went beyond the ocean of suffering, you also have to go beyond these inner worlds. Your ancestors are in one of them right here, and they're not going anywhere except back to this ocean of suffering-prone, ignorance-ridden existence. Ignorance and suffering also mean happiness and pleasure, you see. When we say ignorance in Buddhism, Vedanta, make sure you understand that we're saying, when we say suffering, we're also saying pleasure. Pleasure and pain are 2 of these dualities that are prevalent here in this world of appearances. And the ego is going back and forth between them. First it gets pleasure, and then pleasure ends and it gets suffering. And it forgets to make the connection between, oh, I enjoyed this, so I'm going to suffer this. I think somehow pleasure and suffering are not connected, but that's called karma. They're intrinsically connected. So if you enjoy something, you're going to suffer equally. And this is the reason why some people enjoy the world and do evil acts and get all sorts of good things, because they're very good at putting their suffering off till later. But all that suffering comes back to them, in terms of decay, old age, death, rebirth, so forth. So this is the samsaric wheel that that the Upanishadic rishis want you off of. They don't make any bones about that. You must get over this cycle of rebirth again and again. Then you can come back to it if you want in freedom. You can come back and help your mother, your great-grandmother. You can come back and help all beings like the bodhisattvas do and the jivan muktas do. So, but you cannot help them once you're still involved in it, you see, still attached to it. You're going around just like them. Krishna says, like, oh, I don't have enough room in my bed for me, but I'm asking someone else to join me, right? Come, friend, come, get in bed with me. See, but you don't even have enough room for yourself. So that's why Buddha renounced the kingdom and left his father, the Shakyamuni clan, and went out in the world, outside the castle, and became an ascetic in the forest. Came back later and helped his king and his stepmother and his child. A lot of people don't know that Buddha had a child. He named his child Chain Around My Neck. So that's how they think about things sometimes in India. You know, unless you give your children this great teaching, they may become a great weight to pull you down again into the world of suffering. So people are attracted to having more offspring. It's a kind of a shoot fest, you see, where um, it's a roulette wheel of chance what kind of children you're going to get. But if you have higher consciousness and you think, I want to open this nadi for good children, then some good souls here existing at higher levels will come into the context of you and your dharmic family. That is, dharmic husband, dharmic wife, Shiva and Shakti, good children. See? And these help the world, help people to this higher teachings. So basically, this is what's being described here. It is well known that in the middle of this is Kundalini Shakti. There's an image of her, for instance. She, she and she exists there as bright as millions of suns, but as thin as a lotus thread. Nice analogy there. How beautiful her worlds are, but how subtle she is. You see, millions of suns are shining there, but she's as subtle as a lotus thread running through them. The man who sees all of this with his mind's eye attains salvation and gets rid of all transgressions. Sees all of this with this, right? The Dharakasha, all the worlds, not just in outer space and here on earth, but all the worlds inside of you, the kingdoms of heaven within you. The yogi who sees all of that gets rid of all transgressions and becomes a master of yoga. He begins to see a light at the top portion of his head, in the middle of his forehead. Wherever he is, that light is there. Swami Vivekananda talked about that. He said, oh, I saw this light when I was young. And then, so basically, we've gone through this with the slokas. See, basically, it's this beautiful idea that locate and focus upon this Sushumna Nadi. Let me go back a second. This is a photograph. Someone said to me yesterday, oh, take a screenshot of it and send it to me on the computer, right? So this is the screenshot you have to take with your two eyes today if you want to follow Taraka yoga. You know, you have to know that all of this is inside of you. Now that you've found out, isn't it glorious? Isn't it exciting? If you don't use that word too much in Vedanta, but isn't it enthralling? See, but you have to affirm it. This is within me. The kings of heaven are within me. Jesus didn't have any qualms in saying that. When he meditated in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was looking at all this. The rest of them meditating around him were just seeing a bunch of garbage in their heads. But Jesus was seeing this, you see. So when you see that, you envision it, you take it as the Taharakasha. It's all there in the heart, where all the subtle nerve endings meet. Back to this now. All these subtle nerve endings, by the hundreds and thousands, are moving towards these worlds called chakras, called lokas, called akashas, called bardos. Go anywhere in the Eastern religions, you'll find out that they know about these. They're not discounting them. In fact, they're envisioning them, and that's what he says here. First of all, you want to examine this akasha inside of you, and when you see it, move here and gain the yeah, mudra of steadiness. I think Sambhava it's called here. So Sambhava mudra is this position. I stay here in my third eye, and I'll never leave there. From there, I can see everything that's below me. See, and I can bring souls to me. So Sri Ramakrishna said, I can come down to the heart chakra, but I wouldn't go any lower. But from there, I can attract souls to me, because we just said you can't go down and become part of Maya because you'll get entranced by it. So you stay apart from Maya. It says everything that's outside, you look at it from a distance. Never try and analyze or scrutinize Maya from inside of Maya. Always do it from outside, because then you can see its workings and you can see how it traps people into children, money, wealth, power, domination, violence, suffering, karma. That's how all of this comes about. But the witness never gets involved in that. So that's called Sakshi Bhutam. Sakshi Bhutam means I am seeing all the phenomena as separate from myself. In the Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, you must know that all occurrences, all phenomena happen in Maya. They don't happen in you. See? If the mind is a part of Maya, then it's happening in the mind and Maya. But as soon as the Maya is able to transcend and become witness of all of this, then it realizes that those phenomena are happening in nature, not in the soul. That's the difference between a realized soul and a bound soul. As the realized soul has detached from that and seen the workings and said, never again will I become embroiled in that. I'm free and I want to remain free. So that's what they want you to do. And then finally, awaken Kundalini from the root to the crown. Come, mother, let's go for a stroll, Ramprasad sings. See? We'll go for a stroll. We'll pick shining leaves and fragrant flowers from trees and go back and offer them at the shrine. So he's asking Divine Mother Kundalini to come with him, you see. And all of these worlds are like shining leaves and fragrant flowers. Take from them and offer them back to her at her feet of bliss, they say. You see, Devi Padam, right? So if we sing, we can sing about Kundalini. There's lots of beautiful songs about her, like this one. Sarva Jnana Shakti Mahakundalini Jivatma Paramatmadarini Shri Devi Rudrani Kalaratri Devi Vijaya Avijaya Devi Maheshani Shri Yogamai Chit Shakti Devi Jaya Vijaya Devi Vasundari Shri Mantra Shakti Mata Deva Devi Dasatattva Devi Shakti Darshini Shri Devi Padam Shri Devi Padam Shri Devi Padam Shri Devi Padam. Basically means in Sanskrit and in English, you heard the Sanskrit, it means, oh, progenitress of all penetrating wisdom, who flows imperceptibly as subtle spiritual current within the subtle body, you hold all souls and absolute reality within you. Though often terrible to behold, O great lady, appearing as the black night of incomprehensible voidness, you hold knowledge and ignorance in abeyance and loose them for your purposes. O all-attracting presence, O all-alluring and puissant form, you animate the five elements and exude sublime intelligence as well, being ever victorious over all beings. O goddess of all the gods, who embodies his comprehension in all the great statements of the scriptures, you operate all cosmic principles and grant communion with the divine nature. Sri Devi Padam, I take refuge at thy feet. Sri Devi Padam, I take refuge at thy feet. Sri Devi Padam, I take eternal refuge at thy feet. So this is how we sing, and in India there are many songs to Divine Mother. It's called Shakti. She's called the Mahashakti. So that's why the Rishi is saying, awaken her from the Muladhara to the Sahasrara. People are in the three lower worlds using her power, but they don't know it's her power. That's why they say, this is mine. This belongs to me. I do all action. She's there as the power and everything in the three lower worlds. He just said, all the elements are shining with you. So everyone's enjoying the elements, right? Sun, water, food. But they're not aware that it all springs from her puissance, her all puissant form. So basically, they have to become aware of that. So the Rishi, being born in the body and retaining knowledge of Kundalini, says to us, here's an Upanishad. I want you to envision all of this inside of you because you've forgotten it. You're looking only at the outer forms, the appearance of things. You're only looking at the appearance of things. You forgot the inner essence. And you forgot further this essence is in with you. Lo, I say to you, it is neither up nor is it down, or is it to the left or to the right. It's within you, Moses said in the book of Moses, and Christ repeated later. So this great kingdom of heaven, this Atman we're talking about, the Mahatman, is there, and we've forgotten it. So his first instruction, and there are three ways in which he wants you to do this, three aims of Taraka Yoga, is to envision this first because you've forgotten it. It's not much different than children going to school. See, they all have all knowledge within them, but the teachers have to take great pains to bring it out of them. If it comes out of them, then it must have been in them. It couldn't have come out of them otherwise. So one of the great 7 levels of knowledge, higher knowledge, is that all knowledge lies within you. It's really the same thing as saying all kingdom of heaven lie within you. All knowledge, because knowledge forms the worlds. Intelligence forms the worlds. The mind's intelligence forms the worlds. But some people form worlds of lust, anger, jealousy, terror, violence, suffering, dominance, and so forth. So that's also Shakti power. So it's just not realized correctly or used rightly. So those beings who form worlds of good, worlds of blessedness, worlds of higher wisdom, worlds of bliss, worlds of contentment, worlds of compassion, worlds of peace, they are aware of her. And they're using her divine energy to manifest these greater worlds. So this is why these two are important, these great aims. The Upanishad is not going to let you proceed without them. And when I came across that in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, it was very stunning at one point. There will be no spiritual growth for people unless they acknowledge the Divine Mother. She's in charge of that. When she's mostly in charge of that, she says, we call her Durga or Kali. Shamakrishna's ideal was Mother Kali. So these are the goddesses of transformation. See, they will take the soul away from the ocean of suffering and lead it to the highest goal of the Samadhi and Sahasrara chakra. 1,000-petaled lotus, that means. The third aim there is that once this is done, you will remove all karmas and all transgressions. And that's where we ended the sloka, basically. Wherever he is, he sees the light. And he who sees that light and sees the Dahara Kasha within attains salvation and gets rid of all transgressions. That's right there. So then let's look quickly at the three successive phases of this. One we know is Purva. Purva means just before, pre-yoga. It's pre-Taraka yoga. It means that first of all, you have to be able to realize that the sensory organs are operating for you mainly, and that's in the realm of form. But there's a place between the eyelids that's without form. So this is where the Harakasha, all the worlds within you, is like a great vacuum that's sucking the external and the internal together into one place and putting it right here. Their position has not been peaceful and equanimous for many lifetimes. You might have passed away and in and out of lower chakras. So you think that birth and death is real. You think that the world is real. And this has become a habit in you called a samskara. Now we want to destroy these samskaras of wrong thinking and arrive at this position. So when we hear about Kundalini Yoga, we think, oh, I'll never be able to open this. But you already have this position inside of you. You're not manning it. You see, it's like an admiral with a great battleship. Got all this power, but he can't find his navigational room, you see, with all its tools. So he's wandering around the ship saying, oh, I'll never find it, you see. So, but this is what the soul has already inside of it, is this Agya chakra. Agya means like, it's the end of ignorance, and it's ajnana, and it's the end of knowledge, jnanam too. It's a witness standpoint that goes beyond all dualities. So that's what you have to do for the first phase, pre-yoga. So they want you to envision this and start moving towards this, seeing this along the way, right? So from the Muladhara, you're waking up from ignorance and you pass past the desire for heaven, past the tendency for rebirth, arrive at the heart chakra, see the Lord there at the feet of the mother, and then you move inward more intensely towards this samadhi, this higher mudra. That's a position you have to man. And that's what happens in a manaska yoga, they call it. That's the second phase of this yoga. Understanding that all things lie within you, practice the deep application of your purified mind and reach Taraka yoga. There, concepts like the Harakasha are understood by the mind's eye. So you, in order to, just like this world seemed real to you, but you had to school yourself, right? It's not real. In the same way, these worlds will seem real to you. You have to school yourself. There's a higher position to look from. Or else I'll get caught in heavenly existence. But the yoga, this yogi, this rishi is telling us that he's reached higher experience called non-duality. And he's crossed over all ability to transmigrate. He's crossed beyond all bodies. And he's become one with the Lord. I and my Father are one. It's a great non-dual statement in Christianity. So that's aham brahmasmi in Vedanta. I am that Brahman. I've been dreaming myself away from it. I've been thinking myself to be other than it. I've been imagining there are two when there's really only one. I am that. I am that. Tatvamasi, Tatvamasi. That's the higher position of Advaya Taraka Yoga. So he says, without batting the eyelids to look outside or inside, what we are aiming at is to reach Sambhavi Mudra here. See? So as long as I'm looking out, then I'm looking in, I'm looking out. You see, I'm living, I'm meditating, I'm living, I'm meditating. I'm not transcending and arriving at the best position to see everything, the single eye. Dvaita mulamaho dukam nanyatashyasti besajam, the Avadut says, this primal error of dual vision is causing you to suffer, he says. This primal error of dual vision, seeing everything as two all the time, even as far as God and the soul are two, it's just not acceptable. Only that knowledge that declares that you are one with God will make this I single again and destroy all suffering and destroy all transgressions and destroy all transmigrations. So when the eyes are always opening and closing, it's like Holy Mother said, does God exist only when the eyes are open, eyes are closed, and cease to exist when eyes are open, right? God exists no matter whether you open or close your eyes, and exists beyond eyes and beyond seeing and beyond the seer and seeing too. So that's where you come to this place of Shambhavi Mudra. You see, that's like saying this. It's a oneness mudra you see on Buddha using all the time. Shambhavi Mudra is almost the highest you can get in consciousness. That's sloka 7. Yeah, Upanishad only has 9 slokas. So it says then, to go on, by the help of a great teacher, one tries to find this Taraka state. He calls it here Turiya. Hidden either in the Sahasrara 1,000-petal lotus or in the cave of the heart. Shambhavi Mudra, the Harakasha, right? Now we know what third eye and heart mean, how to think of them and how to keep them at one with each other, not divide them. See? So this is what this chart is all about. All these hundreds and thousands of nadis going to these different cities or lotuses inside the subtle human body, all moving up to Sushumna and reaching a higher state of consciousness as they do. They qualify themselves for higher awareness. And at one point, they don't fall to earth ever again, unless they do so consciously by their own will. The ability to see, to attain the Turiya state and to see all that is in the cave of the heart ends in 12 nadis. Ability to see this is only through the help of a great teacher. So that's why we say Guru is the highest principle in India. So that brings us over here to this other box then. Now that we've looked at these three aims and 3 phases, and we see that this is only part of the chart we didn't really explore yet. This is in Footfalls of the Indian rishis. So you can look at this chart. It's readily available with all its in all its glory, as they say. What else was I going to see here? Oh, that's for the end. So this box, then, it concludes this main chart for the Advaya Taraka Upanishad. Says the adept Taraka yogi perceives this. First, he sees the Harakasha. And remember how you do that, first envisioning all worlds within you, and then focusing on the heart and seeing everything there. And then when you see these, you see that transmigrating consciousness is always caught below this Vishnu Granti. It's called Vishnu Granti. Down here is the Brahma Granti. If you break through the Brahma Granti, she will rise. Awareness of her will rise. But you still then have the Vishnu Granti, which divides the life heavens inside of you from the heart chakra, from the Daharakasha. So you're breaking through Grantis. The soul has to break through these barriers in meditation and penetrate them inward. It has to put forth some intense effort to do this because it's a habit to be caught in them for so many lifetimes. And your ancestors doing the same. So that's why you have these higher exemplars come to you. Krishna in Hinduism, Christ in Christianity, Buddha in Buddhism, Moses in Judaism, Muhammad in Sufism and Islam. All of these great souls have come with their various forms of auspicious religion and have shown you the way to the light. The light, this Upanishad is saying, is there, the crown of the head. It's if you feel that light, if you see that light, then you're a candidate for yoga. Yoga means union. So I'm going to get into union with Brahman. Shankar says, I was a hailstone falling for a long time. Then I saw the ocean and I knew it was all over. That's all she wrote. So the body, mind mechanism of the human being is like a hailstone. It has no home. And then it falls, you see, and then it sees the ocean of consciousness and it falls there and dissolves completely in it. There's no more returning from that ocean of consciousness. It becomes one, it becomes blissful, it becomes peaceful, becomes itself again. And now I and my Father are one, and nobody can say differently. So that's called here the end of cycles of birth. The end of cycles of birth. How can you possibly see those if you don't see what you're reincarnating within? So if you've forgotten the Daharakasha, all these chakras inside of you, re-envision them, plug them in again. It's like unplugging circuit boards, and then you try and start up your computer and it doesn't work. Oh, I forgot to plug in all these plugs, you see. So the computer, as it were, of the human being put itself back together and forgot to plug in knowledge of what it truly is. Now it only thinks it's a body made of flesh and bones, but it's actually a great soul there. That's its essence. So go back in there and plug everything back in so it'll think work properly. Plug this in. I'm emphasizing it because this is what we need to do today in these times. People are calling this woo-woo, you see. People are calling this, a demonic path, I heard a couple of weeks ago. But this is the truth, you see, and we haven't seen anything like it for thousands of years until Sri Ramakrishna came back with it. So we have to bring this back, and he's giving us permission to call ourselves divine and to quit calling ourselves sinners. And that's the first thing you'd have to do if you want to transcend all sin, right? Is quit thinking yourself as a sinner. The two don't work together. And then after that, it's I am Atma Brahma. This self is Brahman. I am one with my Father. I'm perfect like my Father in heaven is perfect. These are thoughts that you have to engender inside of yourself. But that's getting rid of old thought. This is remembering eternal truth. So envision this whole city, this whole series of cities up the Sushumna inside of yourself, and say to yourself, I am coursing along it in waking and dreaming and in deep sleep. I'm coursing along it. That's the only place I can go. There's no other place outside of that for souls to exist. They're born in this, they move in this, they pass away in this, in these three lower centers. But to become eternal when they transcend and reach the heart chakra, the Daharakasha, they see all the inner worlds, And then they open up this third eye and live in the mudra, samadhi mudra, sambhavi mudra. So basically, that's the end of the cycles of all birth and death for you. I mean, the Advaita sings about that too. Samsara sachatilata nachame kadachit samtosha santati sukho nachame kadachit agyana bandhanamidam nachame kadachit gyanamritam samarasam gaganopamoham samsara santati rajo nachame kadachit santapa santati tamo nachame vikaram sattvam swadharma janakam nachame vikaram Gyanamritam samarasam gaganopamoham Gyanamritam samarasam gaganopamoham. Talking about where all the nadis ends, he says, the clinging creeper of birth and death has fallen off my true body. You understand now? The clinging creeper of birth and death, the very thought that I was ever born or have a death or a birth has fallen off my true body, because my true body is here, right? And I have found that happiness and miseries that belong to life are not in my true self. Instead, I found that I am pure existence, non-dual wisdom, and ecstatic bliss. I am as boundless as the sky. I am infinite like space. Second verse, he sings, free now and ever from all bondage. I have neither fathers, mothers, nor children. For birth, death, and desire have all been extinguished in me. The ever-abiding state of utter calm has come over me. It is unshakable and supremely tranquil. Thus I have found, without a doubt, that I am actually pure existence, non-dual wisdom, and ecstatic bliss, as boundless as the sky and infinite like space. Does it leave any room for doubt? Certainly he's become absolutely focused and concentrated on that truism, which this Upanishad is trying to convince us of, if we're not already convinced. So the yogi perceives then everything within the heart by coming to understand the inner worlds. Then in that he sees the end of all transmigration going on. He gets himself off the cycle of birth and death called samsara and begins to dwell in higher centers of his own awareness. That ends all cycles of birth and death. It destroys all samskaras to be born again for lower purposes. And at that point, then he sees this light that's been guiding him, all his light. He sees that, he goes to that, and that's where all the nadis and even the higher nadis going to different realms like Brahmaloka, Taparloka, Janaloka, Maharloka. Those are the four higher worlds from the heart up inward. And it goes beyond even Vaikuntha, the holy city of Vishnu, beyond Kailas, the holy city of Shiva, beyond Manidvipa, the holy city of Divine Mother, even beyond all worlds, beyond beyond the Rudra Granthi. As you see, basically the Brahma Granthi kept people from awakening. The Vishnu Granthi kept them from getting transcendent of heaven. And now the Rudra Granthi is keeping them from arriving here at oneness, knowledge of the oneness of the apparently individualized soul with the Supreme Soul. That's where the avatar comes from. That's where your great souls are coming from. See? Coming down the centers and telling people, I found a way. I have found a way. O ye children of immortal bliss, the Upanishad says, I have found the way to oneness, to Advaya. Come, do the Taraka process with me and join me in the highest level there at the Sahasrara, where Om is constantly resounding. So, point here in the third part of this chart, this is where all the nadis end. You don't see anymore, right? They've stopped. So passageways, like I said, roads and methods all fall away. Dualities as high as birth and death, liberation and bondage, wisdom and ignorance all fall away into the truth, the realization of the truth that I am one with Brahman. So those 100,000s of nadis that are all leading to the heart, as we studied in the Vajrasuchika Upanishad, remember it said to cut away all the lower nadis, if you remember that teaching a couple months ago. You take a knife, right? And you cut that away. Then those lower nadis fall away, and only the higher nadis are available to you. And then you run through them with your consciousness, and you will find a place where that road ends in the 100,000 Sahasrara chakra, where everything meets and merges. We'll read this final quote here, and then we'll have completed this chart. With the application of intense sadhana, one strives to find the Turiya state hidden in either the Sahasrara chakra or in the cave of the heart, lying at the end of all nadis. The ability to see it becomes possible only through the help of a great teacher. And that's where we left off in the Upanishad itself with sloka 8. There's only one more sloka left now, and then we have completed our study in this particular 3-class series of the Advaya Taraka Upanishad. That last is sloka 9, and it says, if the teacher is a scholar of the Vedas, we call that an acharya. If the teacher is a devotee of the Lord, who does not have any jealousy left in his mind, who is a great expert in yoga, who practices yoga, and who is the personification of yoga, if that one blesses us, all the ties imposed by birth will vanish. At that moment, all the sins committed in all births will be destroyed. Then the Upanishad tells us that that soul, that fortunate soul, will achieve all the Purusharthas. So the last word in the Upanishad is Purusharthas. That means all the 4 fruits of life. You know what the Purusharthas are? So as we end this 3rd-class series, we can look at the Purusharthas in a chart. So we know that what's there left for us. It's like abidance in this highest teaching, which ends in moksha. So you see there, Sri Ramakrishna himself says, a man is born to no purpose who, having received the priceless boon of a human body, is unable to realize God in this lifetime. So harkens back to people living below the Brahma Granthi, right? people who have not wakened Kundalini Mother inside of them and followed her up the chakras, that according to Sri Ramakrishna is a great regrettable thing for the soul. So there you see the Divine Mother's four boons. Those are the Purusharthas. Basically, it's a human birth, holy company, a desire to be free, and a pure mind. Manusyatvam satsanga, mumukshutvam, and chitshuddhi in Sanskrit. And these four great boons are one rendering of a fourfold set of fruits that we need, that Mother bestows upon her children. How can you get anything from Mother if you don't go to her? You see, so you envision her inside of you. You have to have a place to invite her, right? So aren't all of those chakras fitting meeting places for the soul with divinity? If you're not envisioning these kings within you, how can she meet you? It's not very often that you see her out here, although now Sri Sharda Devi has come, the great divine consort of Sri Ramakrishna, and some people were able to see her in the human form. Sri Sharda Devi, He Mahamate, Sri Ramakrishna, Guru Deva, Samprite. It's a great song about that. So how many of us got to see her, though, in the late 1800s and early 1900s, especially from this country, and especially now, some many decades after her passing into samadhi. So if we can envision the worlds, we can see her within them. So that's why the Upanishad says, make sure you envision all of this inside of yourself. Don't leave it externally or in outer space. Don't look up, don't look out, look within. See, you're looking out, you're looking up, you're not going to find God. That's why science and astronomy has never found God in that vacuous space, and why people aren't finding God in the five elements of nature and all the activities is because God dwells within and dwells within you. So don't look up, don't look out, look within. Then you'll find her subtly existing in all of these spiritual centers. Envision her there, and she will show herself to you. It's like saying, knock and it shall be opened in Vedanta. Those inner doors have to be knocked on. The outer ones are just going to show you a bunch of conventional religious people or um, um, collection of fools, see, opening the doors. They know nothing about divine life and spiritual life. All they know is a great little study of life, Vivekananda says. So what can they tell you? To hope for help from friends and family and ancestors provides no great solution. Don't you know that all are lost here? Everyone lives in pallid imitation of everyone else, is one song Ram Prasad sings in India. Everyone lives in pallid imitation of everyone else. So we want to find that great soul who exemplifies knowledge and realization of all of these principles. In the meantime, you can't just leave them in the realm of fantasy or imagination. At least envision them. See. So there's the four proper fruits of life. These two sets of fours are the four boons and the four fruits of life. So there you see Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha right here. Those are the Purusharthas per se. And so again, the last sloka, The teacher who is a scholar of the Vedas, who is a devotee of Lord Vishnu, who does not have jealousy in the mind, who is a great expert in yoga, who practices yoga and who personifies yoga, if that soul blesses us, all the transgressions committed before will be destroyed. And the Upanishad tells us further that all purusharthas will come to us. So the purusharthas then are going to be dharma, that is righteous way of living, artha, fulfillment of all the necessities of life externally, kama, you get all your desires satisfied legitimately, and you'll reach moksha, liberation in the end. So that's hardly even a bucket list. It's actually a great gift that comes at the end, according to this Upanishad. Dharma, kama, artha, and moksha, the four fruits of life, called purusharthas. So we should make ourselves then qualified for this. The quote at the bottom of this chart says, an impure mind does not easily become pure, but remember, the mind is everything. You'll have to carry the mind with you when you try to realize Brahman. So at the present stage of mind, the mind is very important. It is the pure mind that shows man the way. One fulfills all desires in this life and reaches liberation when the mind becomes steady. So that's why we have to still the body, still the prana with breathing, still the body with asana, still the body with breathing, still the mind from thinking errantly or distractedly, and sit in that silence that occurs afterwards. So body-mind mechanism has to obey the soul, and then the soul can reveal itself to itself. And the Advaya Taraka Upanishad and this particular rishi has given us the method to do that. It's called Taraka Yoga. You might call it Shiva Yoga. And it all ends up with this four fruits of life. So before I conclude the class, I'll just say that next Sunday is no class. Next Saturday, there is a satsang online, though, that you can all join. And the Sunday after next is Holy Mother's birthday. So I will give a class on Sri Sharda Devi, my teacher's teacher. And we will look into that one who's being followed by millions of people now in a very short amount of time, who is known endearingly to us as the Holy Mother. So here, let's end with the Upanishadic peace chant that ends this particular scripture. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Jananim Sharanam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Pado Padme Tvayeshvatva Pranamami Mahor Mahor Pranamami Mahor Mahor. O Ramakrishna, teacher of all, O Sharda, goddess divine, in bosom holding thou lotus feet, salutations to both ever be of mine. Om